Okay, share my screen. And there. Let's see. Let's go up so we can. All right. So this is for our Zoom meeting for tonight. And of course, um, I'm Nate Jones, and I will be your host for tonight. And of course, the purpose of this is to discuss task one and task two for the teacher empowerment and leadership and explore more of the data that we all collected during our time for the actual assignment. The participants, of course, is going to be Heather, Sam, and of course me and A, and then the norm. We're just going to make sure we stay on task and be respectful. The first part of the agenda that we're going to cover today is going to, um, we're just going to give a quick overview of task one and task two, talk about the main goals for that literature review, and then the checklist, the survey, and then the actual data that we collected from each of our schools. And so I guess we can get started with the discussion about the literature review. Um, I'll take the first question where it talks about how did the overall literature review go for me. At first, I when I had to do the quadrant, I was a little bit nervous about doing that because I didn't know how that was going to actually flow. And then getting, I know that the questions and everything was given to us, but it was just about I didn't know how much interaction I was going to actually get from my school colleagues because everybody's busy. And so when I got the data, I was overwhelmed a little bit because I had at least 44 participants, and that was like, oh wow, because normally they do not respond. So that was that starting out like with that. Um, but overall, I think that it actually went good with the actual research as I was starting to get the information because we had already talked about some of the authors before, and I think overall I kind of got the hang of it afterward because it was literature reviews to me. I guess I just do have that little anxiety when I started getting into it. But once I got the information and just actually doing the research for task one, I think I was okay. And that's all I have.
I'll go next. I had shared this with you guys already through text message, but I really struggled with the literature review. Um, that's something that I struggle with in general. I don't know if it's just because I'm a math brain person, and so like researching stuff is just like when I research stuff, I'm looking for specific things, and if it doesn't tell me what I think it should tell me, then I'm not using it. So I really struggle with that. But I do think I'm improving. But I did find a lot of information from there and from the literature review, and I felt like there were some things that I already knew, and like finding the research that backed that and what my thoughts were really great, and then finding the stuff that I didn't know or something that dispelled the things that I thought that was really nice. Um, I was like an A with I was a little worried about the responses I was going to get or lack thereof responses for my survey. But I too got a lot of response and I was like like within 2 days of sending it out. They were very quick. So that was really great. Um, and with the survey, I used our walkthrough form or not the survey, the checklist. I used our walkthrough form that our school already used. So I didn't really have to create that. So that was really nice. Like that was already kind of taken care of for me.
Yeah, and excuse me, my voice is going away. But yeah, I kind of enjoy literature reviews sometimes, not so much in a weird way, but like kind of like you said, Heather, seeing professionals in that field kind of confirm what I'm already thinking
Mhm.
is reassuring. It's like, oh, okay, I was right. But it is good to see, that as far as okay, it wasn't just my line of thinking. This is actually researched and proven. Um, but I did like some of the other things, learning about empowerment and what we can do as an administrator to do so. And it, you know, my administrative team has their downfalls, but I think they're very good at empowerment. So I got a pretty good role model as far as that goes. And then, the survey, I had 32 out of the 40 people I sent it out to respond. So that was good. I think that, represents the population of my school well. And
Mhm.
with the walkthrough checklist, I actually used the what was it, the Marzano one, because ours didn't really, we have a checklist, we have a walkthrough survey, but
Mhm.
it didn't really give me the data I needed. It wasn't like a yes, no, they did this, they didn't do that. It was more aligned to the 4.0. You type everything that happened.
Right.
There's not like a scoring thing. So I did switch to Marzano's just for that, but got permission to do so. So that helped out. But it was nice to have that to follow in my walkthroughs.
Okay. And what type of challenges? Okay, we did cover some of this, but one, can we like pinpoint again, like the challenges that we did face, and again, what was surprising? Like I said, the survey, of course, but what was another thing that was surprising to me is that the actual as the results were coming in, and I know we were to save the results for task two, but as the results were coming in, I kind of got like, oh, a little leery just a little bit because I've started to see now again what the research was saying, um, how the teachers were feeling, and then looking at what's actually happened. Okay, I don't want to get too fast beforehand, but it just kind of gave me like, so there's some things that I actually need to focus in on, and some of the challenges again were that um, some stuff I did not know. So it was starting to become brand new to me. And but yet, as I saw the results and then trying to put it together, then I said, oh, okay, some things. And then it's just like, um, sometimes it takes a little longer sometimes for things to process for me. I'm a hands-on, so I'm trying to visualize it, and I'm like, okay, so I have to do it, and then I'm starting to see some things now as I'm stepping into that role. And then I'm saying, oh, so that's what the research meant. So those are some of the challenges because of the type of learner I am. So,
I think that it's important too, Ine, that you bring that up because I think that goes along with what Dr. Stedman says a lot about how like this program is going to make us have to put on a different hat. And like you saying that definitely shows that you're starting to put that other hat on and seeing things in a different way. And I think that's the purpose really for
Mhm.
these. And I would agree with that completely. Like um I think a lot of the things that I found in the literature review, my school did a lot of it already. I piggyback off Sam a little bit by saying that like they empower us really well at our school, like so much teacher empowerment, almost too much
mm,
sometimes. So I have good role models as well, and um, my struggle was more in task two, I feel like, in terms of that than in task one. And that's kind of the challenge that I was kind of thinking of. My biggest challenge with the literature review is just writing it.
right.
Yeah.
And I mean, honestly, that was really it. So,
I guess like if I could talk about my biggest challenge was I had kind of a variety of answers on my survey. Like I talked about it with my principal as well. I was kind of like, I had some answers that, somebody, they put no on every single one, all five of the questions. I'm like, you're lying. Like, you're lying. Like, you're just mad about something, but
mhm.
at the same time, it's anonymous, thank goodness. But
Right.
I'm kind of thinking, like, all right, how would I approach this though? Like, if I was the principal here, I have somebody out here who truly believes that we don't do any of this. What do I do about that? So it is a different line of thinking. You can't just go as a teacher and go gossip to your team about that person. You gotta
Right.
you gotta
Right.
figure it out. You gotta
Right.
be the
Right.
boss.
Right. Right. So we can move on. We talked about the checklist a little bit. But how do you think the survey will help capture the teacher's opinion? That's a question. I would say to me, like you said, I saw a bunch of no's too. And I'm thinking, like, yeah, I know. So it's half of it's true and half of it's not. You know what I'm saying? So you're going off of you, and you're taking the results. But again, I think like you said, some may be mad, some may not, but or some may not just know because we had a lot of beginning teachers.
Mm-hmm.
And so I did have one person that literally sent me an email and asked me, do we have a say so in the hiring process? And I was thinking,
Yeah.
like, did you attend? I mean, in my mind, I'm thinking, did you attend? And so, like you said, some of us just don't know. And that's the part too that I think too makes a difference in the survey as well. Like you said, are you just the results that are being given, are they true to fact or is
Mm-hmm.
it true to lack
Yeah.
of knowledge?
Yeah.
So
I think too, oh, I don't mean to cut you off,
oh
Anna,
no, I'm
'cause
done. I'm done. I'm done.
like for the hiring process one, like our principal is very strategic as to who sits in on an interview. And it's not always the department chair. Sometimes it'll be like whoever your team member will be in terms of your content. Like if it's a math one person that we're hiring, that he wants someone from the math one team, stuff like that. But he is very strategic as to who he places in that interview for multiple reasons, but a lot of it is because he wants to make sure that like our school is being represented very well. And so we were kind of hit or miss on that one at my school. Like, are you involved? Like, it was very like 50-50 almost.
Mhm.
And I think a lot of it is because he's strategic as to who he puts in an interview. And then there was another one. Oh, I'm trying to think off the top of my head. We just did a PD day at our high school. And like, we got, like, he sent out a survey and was like, here are your options. We're gonna hold 3 sessions for 30 minutes. Which sessions do you want to see? And then he planned the PD day from there. So like that one, my scores for that one were extremely good because we
Mhm.
had just done it.
Wow.
So I think that's a lot of it too. Like what's really, I think it's kind of similar with the kids, like what's fresh in their head, and
Right.
Mm.
that's what they're kind of gonna rate towards.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. Heather, I like, what you said about, bringing one fresh in their heads, but two, like, being strategic of, you were 50-50 because somebody might not have been put on an interview team. Um, there might be a reason for that.
Hmm.
So, but same thing with the PD for you. Mine was literally 47-53 in favor of yes, we do have an opinion, but we absolutely do have opinions. Pretty much the same way. We have a whole day that's filled with different sessions that you get to choose which one you want to go to. A survey at the end of the day that says, what would you like to see next time? So I'm
Hmm.
kind of thinking like, what are these 47% of us not see? Like
Yeah.
Right.
what are they doing? Um, and then like school-wide policies was a very high yes for us because we have a very long meeting every year, beginning of the year, that discuss the school-wide policies. So I
Right.
think I think with the survey, just being able to share that with my principal, it will show, okay, here are the opinions at least, like I said earlier, of how the majority of staff is feeling, whether it's true or not. Okay, now I can address it. It's like, yeah, if you said no to PD, then you didn't pay attention.
Hmm.
You do have an opinion on this. So I think that's one way to address it. Maybe just enlightening the fact that you do have a say, and make
Hmm.
sure you, as a teacher, you're using it next time.
Right. And so that kind of goes with question number 4. How did you connect the checklist and the survey with what you learned in your research? You took that
Mhm.
information, like you say, then now you can have that conversation with the principal, talking about building efficacy,
Yep.
and the PD, all of the things that those 5 things that we literally had to do for the literature review, which were the recruitment, and placement and mentoring of the school staff and the approaches for evaluation and teacher leadership and decision making. But again, if we take that information and we apply it, again, to going back to the research, like what DeFore says and what I can't even say his name,
Marzano.
Zano says, ah, and then, literally knowing, hey, we can take this research and make it work
Hmm.
for, whatever we need to do, because that data is going to is going to tell us what to do, what we need to work on and how we are to resolve it. So that's how we connect it. So
Yeah.
now we can look at the data collection and talk about the gap analysis, which is in task 2. and we kind of, touch based on it. So how did the data collection plan work? Um, I'll start right there. So as I started getting, like I said, those scores and everything, and um, I did kind of think of the issues, because once you got the scores, you take the data and you look at, hey, this is the area like I need to cover, like that professional development. See, you all have that, where you're having the PDs. Now we have a PD that is given, and that's just random. But to say we're taking it from the data um, of our school and literally coming up with a PD, that's a tough one for our school. And I have to say, um, in the last 4 years, we've had three different principals.
Mm,
So, you're looking at, you have to, one was strategic, then someone else comes in, and then now you're trying to get acclimated to that one,
mhm,
which is, you know, nice, but it doesn't push what you really need. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? So, and then you start to seeing why the data doesn't match
mhm.
because now, like you say, teacher empowerment, we don't care. And so it is good that y'all have that. And you looked at the research, you got the data, now you can fill in these gaps. And so, yeah, I'm done.
Yeah. Oh, you go ahead, Heather.
No, you can go, Sam. It's fine.
Okay. I was just gonna say, when Heather and I both said empowerment was probably not so much of an issue that I thought at least in our schools, but looking at the data, as you were saying, it was like it kind of is because I've got a pretty overwhelming, you know, 91% no, we don't have any say in our budget, and
Mhm,
a 60% no, we don't participate in hiring process. So those majorities are speaking volumes. And it could be an area, like I said, based off of the research of, this is a struggle. This is something that would build that efficacy, build that empowerment. And, you know, bringing up some of the researchers we talked about, Bandura says, empowering teachers are better teachers. Empowered teachers
Right,
are better.
right.
And if you are responsible for something, I think it was Hattie. It was said if the teacher is responsible for something, then they're going to be more invested in that.
Hmm.
And that's I can prove that because when we put my action plan from the app soul into place, I'm like, I'm proud of this thing. Like, you know,
mhm,
I'm gonna try. Somebody's not doing it right. I'm going to. I'm like, hey, you're doing it wrong. So it definitely does. That empowerment definitely does build a more responsible, more, like I'm taking this personally kind of teacher, which is better for
Hmm.
the students.
Hmm.
mhm.
Hmm.
Yeah, I would agree. And we have empowerment, but we were also in the survey marked low for like the budget. And the other one that we were marked low for it was our school, like developing our school-wide policies. Um, I think it was I have already spoke to my administrator and I have a very good relationship and I had already shared all the data with him and him and I kind of expected the responses that we got. Just because we are like he's been in the school building. He was a teacher there and then principal there for over 12 years.
Okay.
And I went to high school at this building and I've been teaching here for almost 8 years. So I mean like I've known everybody in the building. Either they taught me or I went to school with them or
Right,
things like that. So like it is very like we're like a big old family. It's
right.
crazy. And so like we already knew. Like I could have guessed exactly what data I was going to see from that survey. And what's crazy enough though is he tries to incorporate people into the budget and
Wow.
like he gives all the department chairs their budget and says, "Hey, here's your money. Get with your department. Tell me what you want. And if it's like a digital tool or any type of software, I need to know how you're going to use it before we buy it." But like
Right.
he's very like, "Here's your money for your department. You and your department sit down and figure out how you're going to spend it. It needs to be spent by
Yeah.
X date."
Wow.
And so like that was one that I was surprised that we were marked low on in that survey because I was like,
Yeah.
we literally had a whole department meeting on how we're going to spend our money. Like, I don't like, how much more do you want? Like, but like with the school-wide policy one, I could definitely see that. And going back to what Sam was saying about like the empowerment and building the efficacy, if teachers don't have any say in the policies that they're
Right.
implementing, they're not going to implement them with fidelity, and they're not going
Right,
to implement them consistently. And so if they're involved in building those policies and understanding why we're implementing them and what
Yeah.
good they will do, and this is
right,
the research that shows that we should do this method, then they're more likely for that buy-in. And
right,
if the teachers have the buy-in, the kids are going to have the buy-in. And I
right,
think that that relates back to the efficacy as well.
right. I totally agree with that. And
Some
just
of
that,
that's
again, to piggyback off what you were saying, um, you know, it, it becomes, like you said, when it's fresh. But sometimes I think, you don't use it for a while and then you come back and you ask me a question and I'm like, what are you talking about? So I
Hmm.
think that may be an area too, wherein if it was pushed frequently like it should, you know, you would probably see a better result. But
Yeah.
again, we don't
yeah.
do that. Not at my school. I'm
Mm.
at my school.
Yeah, that kind of made me think what both y'all were saying on our from class on Tuesday. I think it was Dr. Stebbins saying the hardest part's going to be that, the roles and responsibilities for the other teachers. Like,
Right.
you know, how are you going to how are we going to make them do the action plan?
Hmm.
And
Right.
that's, when we're seeing this survey of things we know, like you said, Heather, like you have a say in the budget, but people are saying we don't. How are we going to go to them and make them realize, yes, you do, but here's another way to feel more empowered by it.
Yeah.
Sometimes it may be like you said, the wording. Sometimes it's got to be how it is expressed,
Yeah.
Hmm.
because what you're reading, it's just like with the kids in the classroom. Um, you have to break the terminology down to say, hey, this is what I'm talking about. You do have a buy-in. So you remember this part when I said, hey, that checklist where you get each at the end of the school year, you say, hey, what do you want? But I think sometimes when you don't see it, you don't think that you was a part of it,
Yeah.
Yep.
because sometimes you do not get what you ask or request.
Right.
So that
True. Good point. Good point.
that that might be an issue. All right. So now, um, let's see, I think it was number 6. How are we planning to show the data so that you can see the gaps between what is happening? We talked about the action plan, the growth plan, and of course, take the data to get the teachers to buy in, because again, they don't like change. But again,
No.
I'm going to use the terminology, the correct terminology. You may have to break it down elementary, like you have to do for me sometimes, and to get them to understand. Hey, this is why we're using this, because so you can see the gap. And sometimes you have to literally show them the numbers again, because you're
Hmm.
different. You're talking to all different types of learners, even though
Yeah.
they are adults. You have to show some learners numbers because they're data people, analytic
Yeah.
to analyze. And then sometimes you have to show the ones. Let me show you by doing this. You know. So I'm done.
That's a good point, though. I mean,
It
I
is.
never thought because I'm more on the lines of we're adults, we're professionals. I should just be able to show you, and you should get it.
Right.
But it's not always the way everybody looks. I mean, I'm a data person. That's me. You
Right.
show me numbers, I'm good. That's all I need to see. You don't have to
Yeah.
explain it any further. So,
I did, side note, I did and it's piggybacking off of what you said, NA, but something Sam potentially you could maybe use. So I did a trauma response training, and one of the things
yeah.
that they had us do was take a colors personalities test.
Yes.
There's like the 4 colors, and it helps you figure out what personality people have, so then you can better like communicate with them. So I am a yellow and a green person. So a green person is very analytical. I like the numbers. And a yellow person is very like type A. Like I need structure. I need an agenda. I need a checklist. And so like that's what I feed off of.
Yeah.
And so, like it really helped me because when I took the colors test, I immediately was able to like pinpoint, oh, this coworker's a green person. Oh, this coworker's a blue person. This person's orange, which is like they're just chaos. Like chaos is probably the worst word, but
Yeah, a little bit.
like they're just like woo, know, like you tell them to go left, they're gonna go right because they want to go right, you know. But like I could immediately like, and it's helped so much with my communication skills with the adults in my building.
Mm.
Um, because I am a yellow person, orange is normally like opposite of the spectrum for me. And I would always be like, I can't. I love you, but I can't, you know? And now I feel like I do so much better communicating with anybody really.
Yeah.
But that's what I thought of when NA was talking earlier because I'm actually thinking of that type of stuff when I'm making my presentation for my admin team and my sit team because our sit team is the way that we pick our sit team is we do 2-year rotations and it's literally anybody from the department. It's not your department chair. That's the one rule. It cannot be a department chair. So we have our sit and our leadership separate. And there are some people on the sit team, like there's BTs, beginning teachers on our sit team. And you know, if I feel like if I were to show them some of this data, like they would be like, I don't know what I'm doing, you know,
Yeah.
just stuff like that. So that's a way that you can think about it when you're trying to figure out like how to communicate that with people who are not like us and who are not analytical
Yeah.
and number people.
All
Yeah.
right. You have to send me that colors
Okay.
test.
Yeah, I'll
It's
totally
not
do
making,
that.
I definitely want to use that.
Yes.
That's really good, and I'm glad you brought that up because it we often think, like you said, Sam, you're adult. Hey, you should be able to catch on,
Hmm.
but it doesn't work like that. And so that's what's going to help us with our action plan that we're going to be doing in task 3.
Absolutely.
And so, you'll know who to put in place. And we kind of already know who to put in place with our school improvement team, and itemizing what we need to come together, for presentation purposes. But and speaking on that note, I was supposed to do my presentation today. My principal came straight up to me, "Oh, we cannot do that today." And I near about cried, but it was nothing because they had death, and
Mm.
he couldn't be there. He said you have to cancel it, and you're having these mixed emotions all at the same time.
Hmm.
So I got to find a way, to kindly put that in the paper because I could not have the meeting, and it was
Yeah.
supposed to take place. And so, and you know how it goes. If he's not there, they don't want to show up.
That's gonna show up.
And I said, "Oh my God!" But that's how it went for me. So, and we only probably have about like 7 minutes left or 5. But and wrapping up with this action, of course, I know we got another Zoom coming up, but we do have task 3. So, are there any issues or that your concerns about task 3?
I
I think
don't
the only
think.
thing I had was trying to find the that form, the action plan, the
Oh,
action. I
Oh
didn't know
yeah,
where it was located. I tried to go back to the meeting to see exactly where it was located, but I'm not
it's in
seeing
the
it like
help
under
and
the
hints.
apps.
If you go to
Huh?
the help and hints page, that has kind of like the guide to doing the app tool,
Okay.
there's one underneath prompt or task 3. It's in red, but it has all the headings for us and everything
Oh, so we
already.
just have to type that. I thought it was one that was already built. It was the
no,
same one from the
it's the
previous
same
one.
one from the
Oh,
app.
I'm good then.
Okay.
I'm good.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm good. I'm great. All right. Are there any questions, concerns, anything?
I don't think so.
Y'all been great. I thank you for letting me host you tonight because this is I haven't did this since 2020. Basically, no.
Yeah, yeah.
So, all right. Well, I appreciate everybody and
Thank
thank
you.
you.
Thank you.